So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I like talking about how anime and manga is doing really well and how it's pretty much putting comics out of business and how anime is on the rise. A lot of people are really starting to look at anime and it's being taken a lot more serious. And I credit this to the fact that Japan really doesn't care about Puritans and how they feel about things. They care about the money. However, I've had some concerns, and I made a video on this like a week or two ago about how the anime industry, about half, maybe even a little bit more of their income comes from outside of Japan now. So a lot of the revenue from anime and manga now comes from outside of Japan, which can bring influence from outside of Japan. Now, I think we're fine for right now, but in a few years, as time goes on, that's probably going to increase, especially as the population of Japan goes down. Unless they can somehow fix that, you're going to see influence eventually hit them. So I wonder, with all of these companies buying up anime rights, that's one of the reasons, by the way, I do believe Sony bought Funimation, was to get that strong footing in the anime industry, at least here in the West. You're seeing a lot of people take interest. Netflix has been taking interest in anime, even talking about how they've been monitoring increases in it as they've been trying to figure out how to grow their platform even more. But that's not really the topic of this video. The topic of this video is Japan bending the knee, which has happened. Now we have some proof that outside influences can affect the way they do business there. So if you remember, I've covered this a couple of times. There was a blood drive in Japan. And in that blood drive, they used a picture of a manga character named Uzaki-Chan. Now, I don't know anything about this manga. I've never read it. It doesn't look like something that I would enjoy, to be honest. However, it ended up being very successful. So the Red Cross used a big picture of her. She was very busty. I'll go ahead and show you. So this is the picture they used for the promotion. As you can see, it's a very busty-looking waifu. Like I said, I don't know anything about Uzaki-Chan. I did look it up initially when I did my first video on this. I've done like 2 because there's been a lot of backlash. But I did a little bit of research on it. It didn't look like it was for me. Not kind of anime I'm more into the shonen stuff. I like, big action and stuff like that, or the occasional movie like Ninja Scroll stuff. I enjoy some Gundam here and there. But like something like this ain't for me, right? And that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with something not being for me. I wish other people could have that attitude, but that's not the world we live in. However, this Red Cross event was very successful because they love their busty waifus over there in Japan. So a lot of people showed up. It had a big turnout. People showed up, donated, and it was a good event. And it was a very successful campaign. However, a lot of people started to complain about it. Not people over in Japan, really. People in the West. Notably, the first one was a half Japanese English one who didn't even live in Japan, but decided to take up against it. The tweet went viral almost, and a lot of people started getting mad. Nobody in Japan, really. A couple of people, but nobody really over there. It was all people in the West, of course, right? So they were mad about it, trying to put their Puritan values over on Japanese people, trying to pretty much put colonialism on them. And that's something they claim is bad, but they're okay doing it when they feel that they're champions of history. So they made a big deal about it. And initially, the Japanese people were like, we don't care what you have to say. People were laughing about it. There was even a big news outlet that laughed, said, why do we care about what gaijin say? Like, why don't you just shut up and ignore your own? Why don't you shut up and worry about your own country, basically? And there it seemed to end. However, things have changed. There were changes made to the campaign. So they've done another one using anime characters. And the original one that I showed you, the big busty waifu, that's gone. So they've decided to change it, which much smaller looking campaign. So we got pictures here. I can go ahead and show you some. The posters are much smaller this time. And you'll notice not quite as provocative as the other one. You can see there's another set right here. You can go ahead and take a look. That's what they're using now. And then they have some now so in the shops, when you go into like a store, right, you would have originally seen the big busty, the big busty Uzaki-Chan. Now you just see this. You just see white pages and text. That's all you see now. That's it. And from what I've seen, this actually lowered the number of people that turned out for it. So the campaign itself wasn't as successful without using the big busty girl. So basically, big busty anime girl brought dudes in to donate blood, and they changed it up, used less busty girls, and then when they put it into like department stores, they used this. And because of that, they had a lower turnout, which you think people would be a little bit more happy about about a turnout for this, and saving lives, because, hey, we need, blood transfusions to save lives, but instead we're worried about people's feelings because of big busty anime girls. So outside influence did have an impact at the end of the day, and they changed the campaign. So that was kind of disheartening to see. I was a little kind of like, really? They did that after they had success? Why would they care? Why would they care, I mean, obviously there's PR and such, but it's sad to see. Now, I can end this with some good news. The good news would be that there was a tennis anime. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a story a lot of people were talking about, so I'll mention it here. There was a new tennis anime. It didn't finish, by the way, and there's a reason for that. It was like one of the first animes to get woke, go broke. It started to talk about, a lot of values and virtue signaling, and that became like a main theme of the show. And it bombed completely, and they canceled it. They canceled it. But they still tried to publish it, almost like they were thinking about outside Japan. So I don't know. That did get canceled really quickly. It was a complete disaster. But these are some troubling signs that, worry me when it comes to storytelling there, because, I mean, there's a reason that anime and manga are so popular. It's because usually they don't let the East doesn't let the West dictate what they're going to do. But, these are kind of worrying. So will this have a long-term effect? I mean, we'll see, but this was still kind of a win for the Puritans. By the way, I've seen the comments sometimes, why I like to refer to the socialist people as Puritans, notably Twitter Puritans, because that's where they do all their rallying. There's a lot of reasons for it, but I can show you stuff like this. So this is just coming out of The Guardian. Drunk men are a danger to women. Should feminists fight booze culture? What is this article, you may ask? Well, it's a person who calls herself an angry feminist on Twitter. She works for The Guardian, the U.S. division of The Guardian, and she's got a long essay here where she's actively saying, hey, we need to ban alcohol because men are bad. And she cites a bunch of stuff. She talks about the temperance movement, which, if you don't know, that was pretty much the movement that led to prohibition and alcohol being illegal in the United States of America. So there's some concern about some of these things, because now this is the first time I've seen this. Do I think that this will go anywhere? Not for a while, but could I see this becoming something that's talked about? Oh, absolutely. And it's really funny in the article. Really funny little paragraph where she talks about throwing the idea out to make it illegal for men to drink alcohol, but okay for women. But she recognizes that this might not be good because some women will find a market and sell it illegally to men. She doesn't talk about how stupid that idea is, just that some women probably won't listen and sell booze to guys. I mean, this is where we're at. We need to take alcohol away from men. And this is actually published. An editor approved this, I would imagine. So we got The Guardian now throwing out ideas about how it's okay that maybe we talk about taking booze away from guys and letting girls drink. Maybe, this way they'll all have DDs. So I don't know. Anyway, so that was just some interesting stuff I thought you guys might like to hear about. I found that pretty interesting, seeing the Red Cross in Japan bend the knee like that to outside influence, by the way. So that is your first example of something like that happening. And then, of course, we've got some anime experimenting and Western wokeness. That's kind of sad to see. Luckily, it bombed completely, so that don't set anything back. Now, if that had taken off, which, I didn't think that it would, you could have saw some radical change. But I think you have some time before anything gets too bad over in Japan. We'll see. But I'm telling you, eventually, they will start bending the knee a little bit and letting this stuff influence their work. It's going to happen eventually. It's like an infection. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about this. What are your thoughts on all of this going on? I think it's pretty crazy. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say, though. So leave a comment and a like. Remember, comments and like help push videos in the algorithm, so please consider leaving some interaction points. Also, make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that, and subscribe if you're new.